Hi, my name's Dolohov and I play on Ghostlands EU, and today I'm just going to be giving you a little bit of a breakdown of what I know about my Shadow Priest rotation, sort of DPS and basic sort of stats. Now, I don't pretend to be an expert on priest or shadow priests. You know, this is just a little bit of my opinion and what I find works for me. I think it's about time that there were some guides on YouTube about rotation and stuff that weren't just somebody sitting with metal music on and spamming a target dummy. I am going to be spamming at a target dummy, well, this one to be specific, but what we'll do first is just have a look at my gear and just go through a couple of things and sort of what you need to be focusing on as a sort of starting point and that sort of thing. Now, I've got quite a few epics, you know, but I was pumping out very similar DPS when I was in full blues. You know, I mean, I've got the crafted belt set, Dreamless Belt, and Breaches of Mended Nightmare, both the crafted stuff. Stump of Time, you know, the Baradin Hold reward, and then one raid drop from Bastion of Twilight, which is this robe, and a Valor Point cloak as well, which I got today. But you know, this bit's not important. You can have whatever's on here, and you know, and that doesn't matter. These bits aren't important. What is important is these stats down here. Now, spell power obviously is going to be a key figure. You know, you've got the higher that number, the more damage you're going to be putting out. So the bigger that, the better. And then obviously the next thing you'd be looking for is to get your hit rating capped at 17%. Now, the brilliance of being a shadow priest is obviously that if you spec for it, we do get hit rating through spirit. So, but don't think that you can just grab all spirit gear because of that. You know, a lot of the spirit cloth is aimed at healers, and there'll be better options for you in the DPS front. Now, so once you've got your hit chance at about 17%, see I'm a little bit over capped there at 1720, your next thing is haste. Now you want to be at about 1700 is your first haste cap, so I'm still not quite there yet at 15.87%. And then obviously your next stat is going to be crit. You know, you want to be able to get that around the 1000 mark on crit rating. You know, I'm not quite there yet either. And after that it's mastery. You know, anything over 10 is going well. The more you have of it, obviously, the more your shadow orbs are going to be doing. Now, have a quick look at talents. Talents aren't massively sort of like different to most cookie cutter specs. You know, Cataclysm has done this now. Pretty much anything that you look at is going to be cookie cutter. You know, there's specs on WoW Wiki, there's specs on elitist jerks that you can look at, you know, that are gonna really be sort of key. Now, a couple of things that I didn't take that other people really like to take, especially if you're all about utility, if you haven't got a very CC heavy group, is obviously if you take improved Psychic Scream, you can then get down to silence, which will be sort of a slightly better option for some people. Other than that though, very standard spec. But now it's down to sort of like the meat and teeth edge of this, which is rotation. Okay, now first off, buffs. You want to be putting Power Word Fortitude on, Shadow Protection, pretty much standard raid buffs, Inner Fire, and Vampiric Embrace, which you will spec into. Okay, obviously then we want to pop Shadow Form, which is going to give you your Mind Quickening, which is going to increase your spell haste by 5%, which means your my haste goes up to about 21% haste. Okay. Now, this is where sort of like the controversy with Shadow Priest comes in. Now, I'm going to have my recount set on damage done, because I feel that damage is a lot more important than DPS. You can be doing 15k damage and not be 15k DPS, sorry, and not doing enough damage. At the end of the day, damage kills the boss, not how quick you're doing it. Okay. Now, a lot of people sort of are dependent on Mind Spike and Shadow Word Death and things like that, and your Mind Blast rotation, and a lot of focus goes into Shadow Orbs and your Shadowy Apparitions, which are sort of your main thing. I'm going to start off slow and sort of run my rotation in a slow format, so my DPS isn't going to be brilliant, but then we'll see how that sort of transfers. Okay, so what we're going to do first is how I open up, which is Vampiric Touch. Once Vampiric Touch is on, we're going to put it on Shadow Word Pain. Once Shadow Word Pain's on, Devouring Plague's on straight after that, and then I'm going to hit a Mind Blast. Okay, once I've hit a Mind Blast, I'm then going to be going straight into a Mind Flay, and then a Mind Flay again, and then obviously I'm going to be refreshing my dots and things like that. Mind Blast again, Shadow Word Death. Once that's up, our Changer will be available, and then you want to be popping, and then you want to be hitting Mind Flay, and just repeating it and cycling through your dots. Now, if you're specced into it, your Mind Flay is going to be but I'm going to obviously refreshing your Shadow Word Death. Sorry, not Shadow Word Death, Shadow Word Pain, sorry. So you're going to be doing that. Now, you've got things like Shadow Fiend. Okay, now Shadow Fiend does a fair amount of damage, you know. I'm just going to let that sort of tick off. Actually, I'll just Mind Spike quickly there to kill my dots. Now, Mind Spike obviously is a big killer of dots, so you don't really want to be using it in a PvE environment. It's a really good PvP spell, and you know, when you get down to a boss is very, very close to death and you want a couple of big hits to sort of see if you can finish it, yeah, it might be great to chuck it into that rotation there, but it does kill your dots, so you're going to have to waste mana putting them back on. Now, as you can see, I don't use any add-ons that sort of count my dots or anything like that. That's very much because I leveled this from 1 to 85 in about sort of 6 days, and during that time I kind of learned how the dots were and their timings, you know. But if you want, there are add-ons you can get out there which are going to do sort of count your dots for you, because what you want to be doing is you want to be keeping them up constantly. Now, everyone's going to be victim every now and again of sort of applying them too quickly, or not, or letting them tick off and then sort of like applying them again late. You know, you want to be keeping them up for as much time as you can, because they are a massive amount of your damage. Okay, so keep them up as long as you can, refreshing them obviously with Mind Flay, with your Shadow Word Pain. That's great. That's going to be up pretty much constantly. Devouring Plague, you know, it's got 24 seconds. That's a long time. Your main one you want to be focusing around is Vampiric Touch. Now, you should get 2 Vampiric Touches at 15 seconds pretty much into a full Devouring Plague. So you should be refreshing Devouring Plague and then pretty much again going into for your 3rd cycle of Vampiric Touch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go for a little bit of a run with my rotation and let you see sort of what it does there. So what I want you to be doing is I'll say the spells as I'm casting them and having a look at recount and sort of seeing what happens and things like that, and that's the way forward. Okay, so what we're going to do first obviously is Vampiric Touch, Shadow Word Pain, Devouring Plague, Shadow Word Death, Mind Blast. Once Mind Blast is up, I'm onto my Mind Flay. Mind Flay again, and Mind Flay again. Okay, then I'm going to pop my Archangel, and I'm going to refresh Vampiric Touch, and then I'm going to Mind Blast, and then I'm going to Shadow Word Death. Now at this point, I'm going to pop my Shadow Fiend, because I want that extra bit of damage, and I'm going to start refreshing. Now you can see my Devouring Plagues coming off. I'm going to refresh that and again now, and then I'm going to Mind Flay again. Keeping Mind Flay, and then I'm going to Mind Blast, and then as soon as that's done, Vampiric Touch just dropped off, was a bit late there. I'm going to pop that back on as Shadow Word Death. Back to Mind Flay, keeping Mind Flay up, Mind Blast, Mind Flay. Now Vampiric Touch is about to drop, so I'm going to drop that back up, Shadow Word Death. Devouring Plague's about to do it, going to squeeze in a Mind Flay, and then I'm going to Devouring Plague, back to Mind Blast. See, keeping this up, and I'm doing about 10k. You know, now that's with just personal buffs. I'm sorry, refreshing Vampiric Touch there. You know, this is nothing raid buffs. I haven't got any flasks active. You know, you can see at the top, and I'm doing about 10k. Now, as I'm talking, I'm dropping off a little bit, as I'm not paying as much attention as I should be. You know, but we're getting it done. You know, the damage is going up there. So I've got 2 refreshes there. So Vampiric Touch and then quickly Devouring Plague again. And I'm hitting. Now my crit rating obviously is making me crit quite a lot, which is obviously helping me out my DPS there. But we're doing that, and that's pretty good. Now, talk a little bit about Shadow Fiend. Let's just kill that quickly. Okay, right. Shadow Fiend does a lot of damage. You know, it does quite a lot of damage, and it gives you a lot of mana back. Now, depending on the fight you're in, depends on when the best time to use it will be. So if you think it's going to be a long fight, you know, pop it early, you know, so you might have a chance to get it back in later, because you know at a sort of 2-minute cooldown, you know, you've got plenty of time, sort of to pop it again during a long fight, a good 5-minute fight. You know, get you that extra bit of mana. But honestly, I don't run out of mana in fights. Very, very rarely do I run out of mana. Okay. Now, with regards to that sort of stuff, spell food and flasks, we did have a chat about that earlier. At the moment, this is at Cataclysm level, you're going to be looking at Flasks of the Draconic Mind, which improves your intellect and sort of directly pumps your spell power up, which is great. And then either Severed Sagefish Heads, which is going to be 90 intellect, 90 stam, which is good as well, or the Fortune Cookies. You know, Fortune Cookies are going to give you the same stats, intellect and stam. Okay, so you know, you've got a very little basic guide there to Shadow Priests. My name's been Dolohov. I play in Ghostlands EU. Any questions, just hit me up in the comments or direct message, and it's been a pleasure talking.